we've made a bond. But like I said, I was going to show you more than one way to do it, and you pick the way that works best for you. Understanding that sometimes you may use one way and sometimes you may use the other. This one says 15 3/7 plus 12 and 15 21st, or 21s. So I am going to turn them both into 21. This one's going to stay 15, and this one is going to be multiplied by a form of 1 as 3/3. So now I have to do 15 plus 9, which is 24 21s, and then I have to do 15 plus 12, which is 27. So I've changed my denominators, and then I've added the whole numbers. What I'm looking at is what's called a mixed number with an improper fraction. So this says 27 and 24 21s. Well, because it's called a 21st, I need 21 of them to make a whole. So I have to turn this into a mixed number, which means 24 divided by 21 is 1 and 3 21s. So now instead of 27 and 24 21s, I have 27 and 1 and 3 21s. And the most important part about using this strategy is that before you go to your final answer, you combine this 27 and the whole that you made here. So my answer is 28 and 3 21s simplified to 28 and 1/7. Okay, let's look at another example like that. 5/10 and 3/4. I have to turn them both into a denominator that they share. So if I were to use my least common multiple chart and count by tens and count by fours, I would see that both of these could be converted to 20ths. On this fraction, I have to use the form of 1 known as 5/5. And on this fraction, I have to use the form of 1 known as 2/2. 4 times 5 is 20, 3 times 5 is 15. 10 times 2 is 20, 5 times 2 is 10. So 10 plus 15 is 25 20ths, and 11 plus 9 is 20. So at this point, my answer says 20 and 25 20ths. Because this is an improper fraction, it has to be renamed. So 25 20ths is 1 and 5 20ths. So instead of 25 20ths, I'm going to write 1 and 5 20ths. And instead of saying 20 and 25 20ths, I'm going to say 20 and 1 and 5 20ths. This plus sign is understood anytime you have a mixed number. It's imperative that you use it and combine those when you've turned it into another mixed number. So 20 plus 1 is 21 and 5 20ths. Simplified is 21 and 1/4. Now, sometimes students get so excited about making a bond or changing the fraction because they've learned something that's a little bit harder that they do it on the easy problems. And so it's really important that you ask yourself, once you've gotten to that point, do I have enough to make a whole, or should I just combine them? So 3 and 3/5 plus 4 and 7/12. My least common denominator is 60. So 12 times 5 is 60, 7 times 5 is 35. 5 times 12, 3 times 12 is 36. So I have 3 and 36 60ths plus 4 and 35 60ths. Do I have enough to make a whole? Which really means, do these top equal more than 60? And the answer is yes, they do. And in this case, I probably would just add them as they are because it's too hard to mentally figure out how many away 35 is from 60, when I can just add and get 71. So in this problem, I would use 7 and 71/60ths. 7 and 71/60ths then has to be converted, remembering that when I say 7 and, it's like saying 7 plus. So 71/60ths is 1 and 11/60ths plus the 7 I got. So this answer is 8 and 11/60ths. Okay, so let's look down here. 5 and 1/4 plus 6 and 7/12. I'm going to change my denominator to 12 by using a form of 3/3. 4 times 3 was 12. 1 times 3 is 3. So 5 and 3/12 plus 6 and 7/12. Well, if I'm looking at 12ths, I need 5 and I only have 3, which means I don't have enough to make a bond. So I'm just simply going to combine them, and that's my answer. 5 and 6 is 11, and 3 and 7 is 10. Simplified, 11 and 5/6. Okay, 9 and 4/7 plus 4 and 2/14. I'm going to convert them to 14ths. So 7 times 2 is 14, 4 times 2 is 8. And again, I have 8 here, which means I would need 6 to make 14, and I don't have it, which means I don't have enough to worry about making a bond. I don't have enough to worry about ending with an improper fraction. I simply am going to say 9 plus 4 is 13, and 8 plus 2 is 10, and the pieces are 14ths. 13 and 10/14 simplifies to 13 and 5/7. Last one, do I have enough to make a bond? Well, my denominators are 25 and 50. So this one would have to convert to 50ths by using a form of 1, 2 halves. 14 times 2 is 28. So 8 and 28/50ths plus 7 and 47/50ths. This one I do have enough to make a bond, and this one is where you might see the benefit of it, because I only need 3 to make this a whole. So if I take 3 from this becomes 25, and now this is a whole called 50/50ths. So I have 7, 8 plus 8 is 16, and 25/50ths, which simplifies to 16 and 1/2. Now let's use it in a word problem. Zach rode his bike 3/4 of a mile to the store. Then he rode 1 4/5 miles to the library. He took a different route home that was 2.5 miles long. How far in all did he travel? If you'll remember at the beginning of the year when we did thinking blocks, you are going to use the same strategies for problem solving here. Your first question is, do I know the total? Do I know the whole? Or do I know the parts? And in this case, how far in all did he travel means that we don't know the total. So this is where the question mark is. Well, what 3 things are going to make how far he traveled? Well, this one could be 3/4, and this one is 1 4/5, and this one is 2.5. And then we have to combine them to get the total. So I'm going to erase this so I have room to write, and we are going to add them. But thinking blocks helps you figure out whether it's an addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division problem. So 3/4 plus 1 4/5 plus 2 1/2. So I'm going to find a common denominator. And in this case, our denominator is going to be 20. So this becomes 15/20 because I used the form of 1 5/5. And this becomes 16 because I used the form of 1 4/4. And this becomes 10 because I used 10/10. So at this point, we could definitely make a bond. I only need 5 in order to make this a whole. So I might take 5 from here, move it up here, and this has become one whole, known as 20/20ths. And this is still in need of 4. So I could do it again. I could move 4 of them up here and leave me with 1. And now this is a form of 1, known as 20/20ths. So boys and girls, I have made a bond, and to add, I now am going to add my wholes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1/20th. 5 and 1/20th miles. Hey, it's time to show what you know. All right. This one, hopefully your common denominator that you used was 9. And your new problem was 1 4/9 plus 12 6/9. Whether you made a bond or whether you combined them and then converted them, your answer would have been 13 10/9, which is the same thing as 14 1/9. So 14 1/9 is what you needed on that one. Let's move this out of the way. All right, so now we're going to do this one, which hopefully you used your common denominator as 22. You multiplied this by a form of 1 2/2, and you got 6 6/22s plus 15 4/22s. Hopefully you were able to see that you did not need to make a bond because you do not have 22 pieces. You only have 10. So your answer was 21 10/22s, but you simplified it to 21 5/11. Then we have 18 3/4 plus 6 5/8. So hopefully your new problem was 18 6/8 plus 6 5/8. And I'm looking at needing 3 here to make a whole. I have it. So this is 3. And now this is a whole as 8/8. So 6 plus 1 is 7, plus 18 is 25, and 3/8. All right, and then you had one word problem to solve. Lydia spent 3.5 hours reading, Ashlyn spent 4 1/4, Emily spent 1.5. How much did they spend in all? I'm actually going to erase some of this work so we have enough room to show the answers to this. So 3.5, 4 1/4, and 1.5. The first thing I notice when I'm looking here is I can make a bond right off without changing my denominators. And by being able to make a bond, it's going to make this problem easier. This is 1/2. I need 1 more half to make a whole. And look, here it is. So this is going to go completely away because I'm moving it up here, and now I have made another whole. So boys and girls, I'm adding 3 plus 1 plus 4 plus 1 and 1/4. 3, 7, 8, 9, and 1/4 hours is how much the girls spent in all.